guys, before we actually start looking at demos for AutoGPT, let's understand why AutoGPT was created, and we will be covering this aspects of this. So first one is we'll understand what is AutoGPT, how does AutoGPT work, and compare how does AutoGPT compare with ChatGPT, limitations of AutoGPT, and finally we'll be looking at how to install AutoGPT locally. And second one is we are going to look at Agent AI, which is running AutoGPT on the cloud without having to do any setup locally. Third one is God mode AutoGPT is what we'll be looking at. So let's understand what is AutoGPT. So Silicon Valley's quest to automate everything is never ending, which explains its latest obsession with AutoGPT. So this was rolled out on March 30th. In essence, AutoGPT uses the versatility of OpenAI's latest model to interact with software and services online, allowing it to autonomously perform tasks like X and Y. But as we are learning with large language model, this capability seems to be wide as an ocean, but deep as a puddle. So AutoGPT, which might have seen blowing up social media recently, is an open source app created by a game developer named Torrin Bruce Richards, which uses OpenAI's text generation model GPT-3.5 and GPT-4 to act autonomously. So there is no magic in the autonomy. AutoGPT simply handles the follow-ups to an initial prompt of an OpenAI models, both asking and answering questions until they complete a task. So AutoGPT basically is GPT 3.5 and GPT 4 paired with a companion bot that instructs GPT 3.5 and GPT 4 to do what to do. A user tells AutoGPT what their goal is, and bot in turn uses GPT 3.5 and GPT 4 and several programs to carry out a very steep every step needed to achieve whatever goal they have set. What AutoGPT reasonably is capable of ability to interact with the apps, software and services both online and local, like web browsers, word processors. For example, if you give a prompt, help me grow my flower business, AutoGPT develops a possible advertising agency and builds a basic website. So that's what basically AutoGPT is. And we'll look at in more detail what it basically is. And one more thing I wanted to tell you is AutoGPT is publicly available on GitHub, but it does require some setup to know how to get it up and running, which we'll be covering later. And before we get into working with AutoGPT, let's understand this more in detail. So the next part what we'll be looking at is how does AutoGPT work. So AutoGPT works based on autonomous AI mechanism, where AI system creates different AI agents to meet specific tasks, which include task creation. When you enter your goals on an AutoGPT, the first agent to interact with the task creation agent based on your goals, it will create a list of tasks with steps to achieve them and send it to the prioritization agent as shown here. So task prioritization agent, after receiving the list of tasks, the prioritization AI agent ensures the sequence is correct and makes logical sense before sending it to the execution agent. Then the task execution agent, once prioritization is done, the execution agent completes one task after another. This involves tapping the GPT-4, internet and other resources to get the desired results. So the above agents also communicate with each other. So when the execution agent complete all the tasks, the results are unsatisfactory, it can communicate with the task creation agent to create a new list of tasks. This becomes an iterative loop between three agents until all the user defined goals are complete. So the action of the AI agent are also known as the user interface by categorizing them into four groups: thought, reasoning, plan, and criticism. First, the AI agent shares thoughts after completing a task, then comes reasoning, which explains why the AI agent is doing what it's doing. After that, the system provides a plan to complete a task. Finally, system gives criticism to allow AI agent to rectify its mistakes and overcome its limitations. So by sharing the computational flow, AutoGPT gives insights into how it approaches a particular problem and overcomes them without any user intervention. So in the next step, now we need to see how does AutoGPT compare with ChatGPT. So while the underlying large language model is same, we can draw quite a similar distinction between AutoGPT and ChatGPT. Some of them are listed below. So one is real-time insight. So the greatest GPT-4 model, that is ChatGPT-4 or 3.5, uses data trained in the same data as GPT 3.5, which is still September 2021. So if you look at any chat GPT interface, it does not have knowledge beyond the 2021 date. So you can't get real-time insights using chat GPT, as you can't access websites and online platforms to extract information. On the other hand, AutoGPT has access to internet. It can not only surf the web but also validate whether a source is legitimate. Further, AutoGPT can access any platform to perform a task. For example, if you ask AutoGPT to research prospects of selling a product and send an outreach email, it will draft and send the email using your Gmail account. The next one is memory management. Context window is the very important for large language models to give accurate results. But in LLM like ChatGPT, the window size has a limit anywhere between 4,000 to 8,000 tokens. So if the requirement is beyond the limit, the model may not follow all the instructions properly, or may go off on the tangent and give unreliable outputs. In contrast, AutoGPT is good at short-term and long-term memory management by using vector databases. So later on, we'll be looking at something called Pinecone to execute AutoGPT, which is a vector database. So AutoGPT can store the context on previous experiences to allow the model to make better decisions. Next is image generation. AutoGPT is capable of generating an image as it uses DALL-E API. If you want to enable image generation functionality for your AI agent, you need API access to DALL-E. This feature is currently unavailable in ChatGPT 4 despite being a multimodal input voice. So text to speech, you can enable text to speech on AutoGPT, which we'll be looking at in the later demo, by typing Python M AutoGPT speak in command line. But you have to enter the command every time you interact with AutoGPT. You can add different voices to the speech to connecting AutoGPT to 11 labs, where you have to clone your own voice for a versatile AI speech software. We won't be covering that because that's optional in AutoGPT. So I'm not looking into the voice cloning, at least in the scope of this lecture. So the next one are limitations. So there is no doubt autonomous agents nature adds a new dimension to AI systems. At some point, we cannot ignore the limitation and risk of AutoGPT. Some of the key limitations which we must know are the two which you see up in your screen. The first one is it's too expensive to use. While the functionality is amazing, AutoGPT practically will likely disappoint you. Uses an expensive GPT-4 model. The cost per completing task completion is very high even for a small task. This is mainly because AutoGPT can use GPT-4 numerous times at a step of a particular task. It is not practical because it can't replicate outputs in different scenario when input is the same. For example, if we ask the model to find out the top running shoes on the road and the turf, it won't create a function to replicate the process for turf category. Instead, it will start from the scratch, which increases the cost here. So get stuck in a loop too often. The most common issue with users are facing with AutoGPT is it gets stuck in a loop. If it goes on for more than a couple of minutes, it is likely means you have to restart the process. This happens because AutoGPT relies on GPT-4 to properly define and decompose the task. So results are inadequate for AutoGPT to take any action. And the another one is data breaches are possible, which when an AI model operates autonomously with access to your system and internet, your data may be leaked. As there is no security agents, it is a concern, and you will have to be careful when using AutoGPT. You can't leave the model running without giving proper instruction and safety guideline, and you may also be subject to prompt injection attacks, which won't be stopped once a task is running, and you run it in continuous mode, which we'll be looking at later. So that's all I had. In the next video, we will look at install AutoGPT locally. The next one will be Agent AI, and the last we'll be looking at the God mode for AutoGPT. So that's all I wanted to cover. I hope this helps and gave you a good understanding of AutoGPT before actually looking into running AutoGPT tasks. Thank you.